What if countries do not follow whatever the United States orders them to do? As you expect, tactics to intimidate and punish that country are used. That's done not only to force that country into submission, but also to show the world what would be done if any country questioned the United States. That's how it got support for Ukraine and Israel from the rest of the world. However, one country is annoying the United States, rejecting to follow imperial orders and not paying any attention to the intimidation. Well, we are talking about South Africa, a country that brought Israel to the ICJ and even announced to drag the United States to the ICJ. Within no time, South Africa has shown the world how even a superpower can be put into its place. But this has made the United States quite angry, and that's why it's preparing to punish South Africa. But how and will South Africa be able to handle this? Let's find that out in this video. South Africa is one of the few countries in the world that exercise complete power without being influenced by the United States. Until now, South Africa has independently chosen its foreign policy without getting any direct punishment from the United States. Even though the US did pressure South Africa to support Ukraine and condemn Russia, South Africa played safely. Therefore, it remained neutral while establishing good relations with Russia. But that was not limited to Russia. South Africa also moved closer to China and Iran, countries the United States considers enemies and rivals. You should know that the United States has been in the habit of thinking that its enemies should be considered the enemies of the world. Therefore, the United States feels entitled to issue imperial orders to countries, ordering them to cut ties with the US enemies. However, South Africa was not in the mood to cut off ties with valuable partners like Russia, China, and Iran. Somehow the United States tolerated that. But now, things have completely gotten out of hand. It's because in the past few months, South Africa not only went against what the United States wanted, which was to support US allies, but it also sued its ally. We are talking about Israel, the country that the United States supports unconditionally. But it does not end here. The United States wants every country in the world to support Israel and condemn Hamas. Well, weak countries might do that, but South Africa won't. Therefore, the United States has finally decided to punish South Africa, causing controversy. This has been done by introducing a bill in the US Congress to reassess the country's relationship with South Africa. Simply put, that's a warning, a blackmailing tactic that if South Africa did not back down, Congress would limit US relations with South Africa. This means South Africa won't be able to export to the United States. Just to have an idea, you should know that South Africa's exports to the US in 2023 were $8.32 billion. But now, the United States, which considers South Africa a significant ally, is preparing to review its connections with the nation following accusations from Congressmen John James and Jared Moskowitz. They allege that South Africa has been forming ties with entities that threaten national security and the American way of life. The U.S.-South Africa Bilateral Relations Review Act is expected to undergo further scrutiny in the committee before progressing to a vote in the full House of Representatives. The delay is being seen as a tactic to allow South Africa to think and make the announcement of its neutrality in the Israel-Hamas war. The bill also requires the administration to report to Congress on whether South Africa has engaged in activities detrimental to U.S. national security or foreign policy interests. Republican John James and Democrat Jared Moskowitz introduced the bill, expressing concerns that the ANC government, despite its professed policy of non-alignment, has aligned itself with adversarial nations like Russia and China and has supported Hamas, which the U.S. designates as a foreign terrorist organization and a proxy of Iran. Furthermore, an amendment proposed by James criticized Minister Naledi Pandor for encouraging pro-Palestinian activists to demonstrate outside the embassies of 5 governments supporting Israel's actions against Hamas in Gaza. Well, this has to be analyzed critically. Not only does the United States want to dictate what South Africa should do, but it also wants even the politicians in South Africa not to follow strict orders. Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Africa's geopolitics, economy, and changing landscape. Let's continue now. But how has Naledi Pandor responded and exposed the United States? Naledi Pandor has reached Washington, U.S. to say what should have been cleared years ago. Enemies to the U.S. does not necessarily mean enemies to South Africa. She is a genius who knows how to gently handle matters of sensitive nature. Being in the United States, she taught the United States a lesson it would remember for years. However, instead of being aggressive, she chose to be peaceful. She conveyed how South Africa values relations with the United States, but also cleared the consequences of the United States feeling entitled to issue orders for South Africa. She is working to convince members of the U.S. Congress against proposed legislation that could worsen tensions between the two countries. Pandor voiced concerns about potential punitive actions against South Africa, mentioning a perception of South Africa being part of an axis of evil deeply ingrained in the United States. Pandor said that in December, South Africa filed an application to initiate legal proceedings against Israel at the United Nations top court, alleging Israel's actions in Gaza as genocidal. Subsequently, in March, South Africa requested further measures from the International Court of Justice, accusing Israel of weaponizing starvation by hindering humanitarian aid to Gaza. The United States could not see its top ally, Israel, being grilled and exposed before the whole world. Because South Africa is the country doing so, Pandor believes that's why it's being punished. Although Israel's government and the White House dismissed the case as meritless, it sparked bipartisan efforts in the U.S. Congress for legislation requiring a comprehensive review of the bilateral relationship with South Africa. This bill, introduced by Representatives John James and Jared Moskowitz, criticizes South Africa's alignment with countries like China and Russia and its support of Hamas, designated as a terrorist organization by the U.S. During her visit to Washington, Pandor engaged with think tanks and publicly stressed the value of the U.S.-South Africa relationship, highlighting their roles as key democracies in their respective regions. Pandor believes that strengthening the relationship between the United States and South Africa can promote peace, democracy, and development in Africa. Pandor clarified that South Africa's issue lies not with the White House, but with Congress, stressing that the executive branch better understands South Africa. However, she also chose to be a bit bold. She said there's an implicit suggestion that South Africa is always expected to follow suit when America takes a particular stance. If South Africa follows, everything is good, but if not, the whole focus becomes to punish it. However, Pandor said, it's interesting that other countries sharing South Africa's perspective aren't facing the same treatment. She said she was not sure if it was because we were Africans or for some other reason. Then, Pandor said that the U.S. might be thinking of punishing South Africa due to its stance on the current conflict in Israel, which is inflicting severe suffering on the people of Palestine. She candidly said that South Africa's decision to approach the International Court of Justice might be causing some discomfort, but it had to be done. Pandor decided to expose the United States by saying that the biggest reason for the bill against South Africa was its case against Israel. She said that over 200 U.S. legislators, spanning party lines, signed a bipartisan letter expressing concern that South Africa doesn't support Israel and backs Palestine. Some even falsely claimed that the African National Congress has partnered with Hamas, which is entirely untrue. This issue is also linked to South Africa's non-aligned stance on Russia and Ukraine. She said that South Africa maintains dialogue with both countries to encourage them to come to the table and negotiate a settlement in line with the United Nations Charter. Naledi Pandor also decided to teach the United States some lessons it advocated before but has now forgotten. She said that she was troubled by the fact that conclusions are being drawn about South Africa's international relations without consulting them. She stressed the importance of consulting South African policymakers before making definitive statements about a country's policy, aiming to grasp emerging disagreements. Once understanding is achieved, Pandor suggests that perceptions can be confirmed or re-evaluated based on reality. Pandor said that she learned the values of freedom and democracy from the United States, but sadly, now she sees the U.S. ignoring those values. We cannot allow the United States to ask other countries to follow those values when they are profitable and completely ignore them when they go against U.S. interests. She highlights that while differences in ideas exist, complete agreement on everything is not implied. It's because the world is diverse, and it's completely normal for countries to have different foreign policies about a certain matter. Therefore, Pandor said penalizing South Africa for simple policy disagreements is unfortunate. Pandor emphasizes the importance of a bilateral relationship between the United States and South Africa, which she believes should be rooted in shared values. She sees South Africa as a vital partner with shared principles, though interpretations may vary. You see, Pandor knows how to handle every matter. Earlier, even though the US Congress was thinking of punishing South Africa, now Pandor has completely changed the dynamics. She has made it clear that if the US still proceeds with punishing South Africa, it will directly mean that the US does not value the sovereignty of other countries. In addition, it will create mistrust among all of the US allies, and they can be punished as well if they do not follow a specific order. What do you think? Should South Africa stop supporting Palestinians? Or should it stay stronger and expose how the United States is planning to punish it just because it is not being intimidated? In the comments section right below, share your thoughts on how South Africa should handle the pressure from the United States. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: African politics, economy, and increasing power. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.
Tell us what you think in the comment section. Like and share the video, and subscribe so that you don't miss any of our African videos. It's the best way to support us.